Hello, it's time to look back on the year that was 2020-2021 in the VLGA's annual report. In this video presentation, I speak with the President, Councillor Denise Massoud, the Treasurer, Andrew Sloman, and the Chief Executive Officer, Catherine Arndt. So Denise, as the incoming President at the VLGA, what are your reflections of the past 12 months of the VLGA's work in the governance space?
Well, I should acknowledge that a lot of thanks go to the former President, Councillor Lambros-Tapanos, and of course the VLGA board. And, you know, it's important that our valued members know that the VLGA has worked closely with the local government sector over the past 12 months to not only support them during the most challenging of times, but to also provide education and support in the principles of good governance. Much like last year, most of our programs were provided virtually. However, the impact of COVID-19 saw the VLGA respond quickly and reinvigorate our program delivery to support the sector during this testing time.
So Denise, the lead up to the elections last October, of course, was a really busy time for the VLGA.
It certainly was. The VLGA delivered 98 candidate information workshops leading into the 2020 local government elections and 38 councillor induction sessions following the elections. That included working with 19 councils to tailor each induction session to the needs of the council. These sessions were delivered in partnership with Hunt & Hunt Lawyers and Justicia.
After the elections, Denise, the pandemic presented some challenges in supporting the governance needs of the new councils. How did the VLGA respond to those challenges?
We were unfortunately not able to deliver our signature Leading the Agenda face-to-face events due to COVID. But we did, however, manage to deliver our annual fast-track councillor development program in March face-to-face. So it was precisely 1 year to the day that we were able to meet in person. Opened by the Minister for Local Government, the Honourable Sean Lean, with a robust Q&A session, the day was a great success with 3 expert panels and finishing the day with some inspirational and comic relief with Melbourne Playback Theatre.
Denise, how important do you feel the VLGA Connect platform has been in helping the sector keep informed and be connected?
Well, Chris, we feel that the VLGA Connect program has been extremely important and it has continued to broadcast to our screens and has comprised a series of interviews with prominent people in the sector and beyond. We heard from commissioners, federal and state ministers, integrity and policy agencies, and experts from varying fields. The series has proved to be well received, with both the video and the podcast uptake exceeding our expectations. The series was created to support our membership and the broader community during COVID-19. At the end of the financial year, we had presented 187 episodes with you, Chris, at the helm. Among the many highlights was also the weekly governance update with you and Steve Cooper presenting.
The VLGA has formed some important partnerships with other organisations, Denise. Can you reflect on how important that's been, particularly this past year?
Our partnerships are extremely valuable to our members. We have partnered with LGIU Australia and LG Pro Vic to present a number of live global local government CEO and executive panel discussions over Zoom, with participants joining us from Australia, the UK and Ireland. The VLGA continued to support and work collaboratively with a range of stakeholders, including our long-time Heart Awards partners, Reconciliation Victoria, and the Child Friendly Cities and Communities Network.
Would you like to make any particular acknowledgements as you reflect on the past year, Denise?
I certainly want to acknowledge my board colleagues and thank them for their support in yet another year that was interrupted. And of course, as President, my work has been enhanced by the stewardship of our Chief Executive Officer, Catherine Arndt. And again, I acknowledge the former President, Councillor Lambros-Tapanos. To the staff, thank you all for your support of the organisation at a difficult time, still working from home. I know it has had its challenges for all of us, and I thank you for your ongoing commitment.
So Andrew, when you reflect on the 2021 financial year as VLGA Treasurer, what stands out for you?
Chris, there's no doubt it's been a challenging year. It's been a difficult year. The first thing I'd like to say is that I've passed or received the baton from Councillor Suzanne Newton, and I'd like to thank her for the incredible job that she's done throughout this difficult year. But really, the year has been a testament to our staff and the way that we've been able to pivot to a delivery model to our members that's really encapsulated the technology that we set up at the start of 2020. We've really grown that technology to serve our members. Some of the initiatives that we've done, particularly the Vlga Connect program, which has grown from strength to strength throughout the financial year, and we're now presenting a regular weekly forum to our members, which I think is fabulous. In fact, I think we're one of the first organisations to actually do a podcast in the local government sector. So our ability to pivot and utilise technology to deliver to our members, I think, has been fantastic. We've also partnered with the LGIU, which has extended our offerings to provide a global network of knowledge in the sector, and the way we've delivered that as well through our technology, I think, has been wonderful. We've also managed to overcome all the lockdown challenges, etc., and provide training, and particularly the candidate and induction training pre and post the 2020 Victorian local government elections. I think overcoming all the barriers to do that has been a testament to the leadership of our staff and their ability to execute, and also the way that our members have been able to pivot as well and receive and participate in that training, I think, has been tremendous on both sides. So really that's what stands out for me, the challenges and the way that we've overcome them. And I think, again, it's a testament to the ability and the capability of our staff to be so agile.
Andrew, what has been the financial impact of having to do things differently this past financial year?
Well, the financial impact has really been in two parts. One, we ceased our lease just prior to the start of the financial year, and that was quite fortuitous in terms of the fact that we then entered an elongated period of lockdown, and people were working from home. So the timing of that was somewhat fortuitous, but it's not sustainable for us long term. We will be looking to lease a new premise, but obviously in the short term we saved funding by not continuing our lease, which had an impact on the reduction of our overheads. But as I said, that is not a sustainable position for the organisation in the longer term, and we'll be looking to lease premises shortly. The other impact was around the pandemic funding, and we received a one-off federal government subsidy of around $100,000, which also contributed to our bottom line. So the combination of a reduction in overheads, primarily due to the lease, and also the pandemic subsidy contributed to our revenue increasing by 9.1% to around $1.519 million, and our profit coming in at $376,000. But as I said, there's two real one-offs that sit in that, and I don't expect those impacts to be continual.
So, Andrew, how important are those council membership subscriptions to being able to continue the work of the VLGA?
Oh, Chris, they're vital. They're the lifeblood of the organisation. The council membership subscriptions cover costs associated with our extensive representation too, and engagement with the sector and with government and with other stakeholders. It's vital that our subscription model funds that representation and that engagement, and it also underwrites costs of programs that we deliver for member councils. So it's incredibly vital.
Catherine, how do you feel that your strategic plan has held up to the impacts of the pandemic, particularly this past year?
When I think of the VLGA's current strategic plan, which of course expires in 2022, I think it's held up actually remarkably well, Chris. When we look at the 4 pillars that were contained within that strategic plan, it talked about advocacy and policy, which was basically protecting, advancing, and advocating for the importance of the role of effective local government. Second pillar was supporting and assisting councillors to do their job well. And also the third pillar was around providing resources, information and education that supports good governance and leadership. And the final pillar was about creating a healthy and sustainable organisation. So when I reflect back on all of those pillars and I look at what the COVID pandemic, I guess, confronted us with, we saw the organisation pivot really quickly to enable us to continue to deliver on all of those strategic pillars. In particular, the organisation has survived remarkably well out of that, and in fact, I would say strengthened itself in its ability to advocate for the importance of effective local government, not only locally within Victoria, but also nationally and through our international collaboration with LGIU, which we can talk about a little bit more later on. But not only that, we also had local government elections in the middle of this pandemic in October 2020, and the VLGA was able to support candidates leading into those elections, but also provide the mandatory induction training that followed.
Catherine, can you tell us about the VLGA's value proposition and how that links to your strategic direction going forward for the organisation?
Thanks, Chris, for that question. Look, the value proposition is something that we captured, I guess, more definitively during the last 12 months. The VLGA's overriding value is to strengthen and support good governance in the local government sector that will essentially enable and promote trust and confidence in the sector. Our work is really focused on supporting councils and councillors in achieving the highest standards of governance on behalf of their communities. And the value proposition will certainly inform the development of the next 5-year strategic plan, which I'm really excited to advise our members and our stakeholders that will be embarking on that journey of consultation to inform the development of that plan in coming months.
Catherine, you've delivered a large range of targeted programs this year. What have been the highlights for you?
The highlights, Chris, have really, I guess, let's start back in leading into the October 2020 elections. The VLGA recognised really early in the year, I guess even probably prior to the 1st of July 2020, the need to start educating potential candidates who might be running in those elections, but also the community and the voters who would be participating in local government elections. So we ran a number of candidate information sessions starting in March 2020. And back then we delivered a few of those face-to-face, and then as a result of COVID, we delivered the rest virtually online. And we ran, I think, over 98 sessions working with 41 councils. So we covered a huge range of geography, I guess, in terms of Victoria. And these candidate information sessions also included approximately 31 dedicated local women leading change programs. So these were programs that the VLGA received a small amount of state government funding to support and encourage women in particular to think about standing in the local government elections. And I believe at least 63 of the 271 women who were ultimately elected in those elections had participated in the VLGA's program. But we touched quite a number of women throughout all of those particular programs. The other highlight for me was the Your Community Council and Country program, the YCCC. So again, this was a program where the VLGA received a small amount of state government funding to particularly support Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to participate and consider running in the local government elections. We were delighted to have Charles Picana facilitate those virtual workshops with us. We did quite a number, and very excited to announce that we've got some ongoing funding for that YCCC program to continue it into the next financial year. One of the other programs that was a highlight and also a pilot project was the Step Up and Get Elected program, which was a series of live panel discussions delivered by the VLGA in partnership with the Scanlon Foundation, again leading into the October elections, but particularly aimed to encourage Victorians from emerging and migrant communities to consider running in the elections. And again, really excited to announce that we'll be working in this financial year with the Scanlon Foundation to work to deliver and build community capacity. We'll be working with Whittlesea Council and also Casey to assist them in building the capacity of their communities leading up into their elections that will be taking place in 2024. Following the elections, the VLGA then worked with many councils to deliver over 38 councillor induction sessions. And these particular programs were tailored to meet the needs of each specific council. So we didn't, host a generic induction session. We worked very closely with councils to determine what their priorities were, whilst meeting the mandatory induction training requirements. We delivered these induction programs in partnership with Hunt & Hunt lawyers and also Justicia lawyers, and also Little Rocket Marketing, focusing on a number of different aspects there. Good governance, roles and accountabilities of councillors, probity and integrity, diversity and inclusion, and also media and social media. As part of our ongoing commitment to good governance training and information sharing, we were also delighted to be able to bring our annual Fast Track Councillor Leadership Development Program to the sector face-to-face in March 2021. And that was a terrific lineup of panellists talking about basically the councillor's development during the first crucial year of the council term. We held that at the RACV Club, and that day was a great success. The VLGA was also very excited to launch its council professional development prospectus during the period, and this outlines a number of professional development programs available to support the needs of the sector. In terms of other partnerships during the year, we worked with Gender Equity Victoria and offered 2 training sessions for council officers looking specifically at an introduction to gender equality in Victoria. And this was as a result of the introduction of the Gender Equality Act in early 2020. We also presented a number of councillor briefing sessions on the Gender Equality Act and decision-making impacts arising from the legislation. The VLGA was also able to host an International Women's Day event face-to-face, which was a lovely day. Again, in partnership with Gen Vic, CEO Tanya Kovac, who gave a keynote address, and with our guests, Associate Professor Andrea Carson and Associate Professor Leah Ruppiner, providing an overview of the research findings of the Australian Research Council grant that the VLGA is delivering in partnership with La Trobe University and the University of Melbourne, looking specifically at the trajectories of women in local government in elected representative roles. I had the great pleasure of representing the VLGA at the Gender Victoria Conference on a panel alongside Victoria's Gender Equality Commissioner, Dr. Nikki Vincent, the CEO of Women's Health in the South East, Kit McMahon, and the Secretary General of the Icelandic Women's Rights Association, which was a terrific panel discussion about the various jurisdictions, but how similar the issues are, and also some of the remedies have been in terms of achieving gender equality, particularly in elected representative environments.
Catherine, representation and advocacy, a big part of what you do at the VLGA. How do you score that element of your work this year?
I feel that this has been something that's been particularly increased during the period as a result of COVID and the ability for us to engage more broadly and also more regularly directly with key agency leaders and stakeholders, locally, nationally, and also internationally. So representation, as you say, is the heart of what we do, and the VLGA continued during the period to develop those relationships we have with the key stakeholders, and also represent our members and the local government sector on a number of external committees. Particularly, I'll highlight there the Local Government Act Project Control Board, which was the project control board overseeing the implementation of the Local Government Act.
Catherine, I imagine a highlight, it's the 8th annual presentation this year of the Heart Award, something I know the VLGA is very proud to be involved in.
The 8th annual Heart Award, Helping Achieve Reconciliation Together, was delivered virtually, unfortunately, as a result of COVID, but it is one of the highlights of the year. And again, we were overwhelmed with the number of nominations we had and applications for those awards across a variety of categories. We've delivered that award program in particular with Reconciliation Victoria over the past 8 years, and we're really delighted to be able to continue to do that in the COVID environment.
Catherine, through Vlga Connect, you've created a platform for information sharing and connection at a time when it was greatly needed. Do you see that as an important element of what the VLGA does going forward?
Absolutely. Vlga Connect was born out of COVID and was delivered really quickly. And I must say we're really proud to have been able to continue to support and provide information to the sector during what has been such a difficult and challenging time, and also a really important time for local government, given that we did have elections coming up and that important first year of a new council group. And there was a lot of fatigue at the end or getting towards those October elections. But what Vlga Connect in particular did, Chris, and I would like to acknowledge your involvement in being the face of that program and assisting us to bring that to the sector, was it enabled us to deliver through pre-recorded interviews, but also quite a number of interactive live panel discussions, some really topical information and important information to the sector. So I think we've interviewed just about every commissioner there is in Victoria and beyond. But also it enabled us to create a platform where we could then reach out and partner with LGIU to deliver some global panels speaking directly to the local government sector. And, you know, I think we've delivered over 230 episodes to date, and we see that as an ongoing platform in the VLGA's program delivery.
The VLGA has established some strong partnerships with other organisations. These are critical, I guess, to the future of the VLGA, Catherine.
The VLGA is a small organisation with an extensive reach, is how I would best describe that. And the only way that we can really deliver to our membership is through collaboration and through partnership with such a small, I guess, team base in terms of resources. So we've really valued those that we've partnered with over the last 12 months. I'd like to acknowledge in particular the Child Friendly Cities and Communities Network, LGIU Global and their Australian-based organisation, which comes out of SGS Economics and Planning, Gender Equity Victoria, or GenVic as some might know them as, Picture Partners, who did sponsor the VLGA's Leading the Agenda series, which unfortunately did have to wind up as a result of COVID, Reconciliation Victoria, Justicia Lawyers, Hunt and Hunt Lawyers, both of which we will be continuing to partner with into the new year. In conclusion, I would like to acknowledge the outgoing President, Councillor Lambros Tapanos, and thank him for his time and his support as President and a board member. I'd like to thank also and acknowledge the VLGA board for their guidance, input and support. And finally, I'd also like to recognise and acknowledge the contribution of all VLGA staff and thank them for their resilience, agility, professionalism and support over the past 12 months. especially in really challenging times in lockdown and working from home. To our members and supporters, thank you. It has been a challenging year for many of you, and I hope you have enjoyed our online engagement and support, and we look forward to a brighter 2022.